Who won the advertising Super Bowl, and does anyone really care? This is the focus group.
It's the savvy side of 9 to 5. Listen.
Bueller.
Laugh. And learn.
Negotiation. This is what you do in business.
This is the focus group with Tim Bennett.
Staunch.
And John Nash.
Keep your clothes looking neat and clean.
We're all business. Except when we're not.
Mrs. CISO.
Hey, welcome to the focus group. John Nash here with my good friend and co-host, Tim Bennett. Coming to you live from our studio in New York. We want to thank Garrett and Steve, also known in the colloquial phrase as the boys in the booth. The boys in the booth. Gentlemen, did you have steaks in the Super Bowl this past weekend? Did you even care?
Yeah, I had steaks.
And did your team win?
No.
What kind of
49er
steaks do you
boy?
mean?
Betting steaks. I'm sure
Okay.
that's what they meant, yeah.
I had hot dogs.
Did you want the Chiefs, or were you a 49ers guy, Steve?
I actually wanted the Chiefs.
Yeah, I was a Chiefs
like the
guy,
Chiefs.
too. Which is in Missouri, by the way.
Yeah. I do know that. And I did watch the last part of the game. I actually, for two of us who are in advertising and marketing, this was the time of year that we used to really pull out all the guns.
Oh, my goodness.
But hey, as I said at the opening of the show, and I'm not going to flinch from this one, does it really matter anymore? You know, all the ads were released. 100% of them was released before the.
Pretty much most. I would guess most of them, right? And which has ruined the whole.
Tune in for the surprise, right? And now that the game was close and that it was well played and that it was a surprise from a sports perspective, that's fantastic. That's what you want. But from the advertising thing, tell me anybody got their money's worth.
No.
You know, and it was all this. So I jotted down a couple things.
Well, they spent 435. So there were 60. How many commercials were there? 60.
And it was split between movie trailers
62 commercials. $435 million spent.
And so you could go on YouTube, for example, and somebody will stitch together all the movie trailers that came out, and then they'll stitch together all the ads. But I found Bob and I were watching YouTube, and we found this show, and it was, what did the millennials think of the Super Bowl advertising? And they had a bunch of younger people critiquing the ads, and it was utterly hilarious. For example, did you remember the ad for Sabra hummus by any chance?
Yeah.
It was very colorful. I didn't know who the people were.
No. Well, there was a Real Housewife of Jersey.
Influencers. They were all YouTube influencers.
Was that what it was?
Yes. And so they had this young woman watching the commercial, and as she's watching it, she goes, oh. She goes, because I'm young and I watch YouTube, I'm supposed to know who these people are. And she goes, and I guess that makes me want to buy Sabra hummus. So we laugh. We're like, she saw right through it. She saw how crass it was,
I
right?
thought that commercial was a mess.
I didn't like it.
It was
no.
a horrible commercial.
So Sabra hummus appealed to they thought, hey, we're hummus, right? It's a product that could be, I guess, pitched by anybody, frankly. Then there was this Mountain Dew ad with Bryan Cranston who breaks down the door, and he's like, "Hi, Mountain Dew Zero," and she goes, "Oh, I'm thirsty." Retro, throwback to The Shining.
Yep.
And I love The Shining, and I think it's a great movie, and I love Jack Nicklaus in that movie. But
It's 1980.
the movie is about 25 or 30 years old at this point. So here's a cultural reference again. And then I'm just going to tie on to that, the Jeep Groundhog.
Day.
The
It
millennial.
was rated the #1 commercial.
Yeah. So the Groundhog, the Jeep thing, the millennials that were watching that, they said to a T, it was male or female, what an ugly car. But hey, it's great to see Bill Murray on the ad. So now you tell me that $1 million or $2 million or $3 million that you spent to have Bill Murray do his first broadcast commercial. Did you know about that?
I didn't realize it was his first broadcast commercial.
Yeah, first broadcast. I think that it was.
It was for the Jeep Gladiator pickup. I kind of like the looks of it.
Oh, these people. I
didn't like it.
I didn't mind the car, but they did not like the car. No.
That was rated the #1 ad.
Yep, and then there was Little Nass and the Doritos thing with was it Sam Elliott? They were,
Was that Cool Ranch?
Yeah, the Cool Ranch Doritos. Now Little Nass is gay.
Well, there were 11 LGBTQ ads or themed ads.
So
according to Glenn,
I would not rank that as an LGBTQ ad. It happens that the rapper is gay, but there was nothing gay about the ad. It was just a funny ad. But yeah, you're right. Someone was quoted as saying it was the gayest Super Bowl or whatever.
Which our friend Todd Evans, who was on
Yep.
it was on in December, and when we did our Vibe Spray piece, he just did a blog post about the
He did.
Super Bowl and the questions about it, and he brought up a point which I thought was interesting, similar to when we always say brands come in June
And they
do
leave.
gay pride and they leave. He said he felt this was also a little bit of the same thing of let's throw our token LGBTQ person in the ad. I'm done for the year. And it will probably never be seen again. It'll be seen maybe on social media, but you're not going to run it again. And I thought that was a good point. If you're going to make the investment, then run the ad beyond just the Super Bowl or include people in the ads. And his point was you should be doing it all year long then, not just that Super Bowl, similar to Pride.
And then a lot of this creative was so tailored for the day that I'm not sure how you would get use of it. An exception would be there was a funny ad for Hyundai, and it was a self-parking car.
Right, which was the number 2 ad, Smart Pop.
Smart Parking.
Yeah.
Funny, well cast. I mean, mega dollars.
Simple.
Clean. It was one trait. They were selling what? That was always your rule of thumb in advertising from auto. What
One
are you
thing.
selling? And it wasn't all-wheel drive. It was car can park itself.
Which is why the Force worked so well when VW did it for the Passat a few years ago.
Yep.
It was the auto
Key.
beep,
Auto
beep.
start.
Right, auto start. So the top 5 were Groundhog Day, which you mentioned, Smart Pock, Loretta from Google. That was I don't know if you remember that ad. Doritos Cool Ranch you mentioned. And this one I don't remember, Rocket Mortgage. And then the 5, this is according to USA Today, the 5 worst ads were Squarespace, another flashback to Fargo, Winona and Winona.
Yep.
Minnesota thing. Quibi, Bank Heist. What is Quibi? It's some new social app or something.
And you saw the ad, right?
And then this is funny. Bloomberg's 2020 campaign, George. Pop-Tarts, I don't remember seeing that one. The worst ad of all, according to the USA tracking, was the Trump 2020 campaign ad. Scored the lowest,
Well,
3 out of 10. But we had said that we had talked on our podcast TFG Unbuttoned about the Super Bowl too a little bit and gave our thoughts and you had summed it up perfectly in that you don't need to watch the game anymore, and that kind of takes away from the whole aspect of this kind of America's Last Great Campfire. You might not like football or you're not a huge
But I was gonna
football
tune
fan,
in.
but you're going to tune in, and we all would have tuned in, and now you don't have to. And it's the same with Academy Awards or anything else. Now you can just go, give me the 3-second version that I can just click, and
what is now I'm probably going to get dinged for this one, but there is an expression we used to use where you shot the dog, you shot the pup, or what was the, meaning you killed the horse that brought you to the show, and they did that with the Super Bowl.
yeah.
They've now so thoroughly
Don't forget the girl that brought you
brought
to
you
the
the dance.
dance.
Let's surprise was the whole element. Long ago, before we had social media, last century,
You wouldn't know you wouldn't even know who's advertising.
you would gather excitedly at a friend's house, and the joke was, "Are you going to watch the Super Bowl?" Yeah, I don't care about the game, but I love watching the advertising. And they've taken that and they have totally just wrung every last drop out of it, and now it's just, I think it's nothing. And the fact that I could watch a movie and not even care that the game was on, knowing
Yep.
that at any time I could go to YouTube and just see what I wanted to see.
Or Adweek had them all together, or Ad Age had them all together. You could
Perfectly
just click to
clustered.
watch
You
them
could
all
click them
together.
through, yeah.
I did laugh because when you do think about how long the game is, with 62 commercials, most of them are a minute, so it's an hour
Of commercial time.
commercials.
Yeah.
I did. I was trying to think if I had a favorite one. I missed the Clydesdales. I said that before.
Well, actually, that's funny. You said that on Unbuttoned as well, and the absence was noted, right? Yeah.
And just some of the other fun bits. But I do think Hyundai did a great job with theirs. I'm not a huge fan of the brand, but I do think that they did a great job with the advertising there.
I actually put that as one of my favorites. If I had to choose 3, that was one of them, and it was because of the simplicity of the story, right?
Didn't need all explosive.
By the way, that baby
chasing
Mr.
and all that
Peanut.
stuff. Well, that was stupid. Why do you kill off? It's like killing off Captain Crunch.
Well, and then this guy, remember I said it earlier that I was watching this YouTube millennials reacting to Super Bowl ads. So one guy's watching, he has headphones on, he's watching on an iPad or something, and he's watching the Mr. Peanut. He goes, "Oh, I get it. I get it. Baby Yoda's really big, so let's do a baby Mr. Peanut." And so to anybody who's in this industry, that consumer automatically is not buying your product.
Right.
They've already disassembled the ad. They already realized that you're pushing buttons to make them interested in something that they may or may not be interested. I mean, I just astounded. Let's go back for a minute to one thing you said. 62 commercials.
Yep.
And we said was a little over an hour of commercial airtime. Here's the rule of thumb that Tim taught me. If you spend $1 million on a minute or a 30-second spot, you will probably spend 1.5 to make the ad, right?
Right.
So 430 million was, spent.
It's times 3 to activate it.
So 60 minutes of commercials.
1.2 billion.
And all production and everything, right? So I can see why they're anxious to throw it on social media and get traction and get more out of it. But
No secret, Volkswagen was a partner of ours for many, many years. And they had probably the most viral and most popular
one that,
spot with the 4-speed
Darth
with you,
Vader,
the new age with the Passat. Didn't sell any cars.
Nope.
I mean, they sold some, but people aren't buying 4-door sedans. So it was great. It was a viral spot. It got a lot of eyes on the brand. But, at the end of the day...
Yeah, what did VW do the very next year? Let's go back to the well.
Yeah.
And they recreated...
Lightning strikes twice.
And if you can't catch it in a bottle, you might as well try to make it strike twice. They recreated the Mos Eisley space bar scene. They had photos taken. It was down to the precise thing. It was approved by Lucas and Star Wars. The ad was,
Yeah.
And no, they weren't capturing lightning in a bottle. They were just like doing the same old tire. I don't know.
No, it's difficult. And what they always say in the ad industry is, oh my God, we've got a Super Bowl ad. And then it's like, oh my God, we've got a Super Bowl ad. Because the expectation is you're going to hit a home run every time. And everyone is going to be interested in what you have. And they all try to do the gimmick and make it viral. And I think most times, if anybody we've talked to over the years we've had on the show, anything that has gone viral or that has risen to the top,
unforeseen,
unplanned.
Yep.
We had no idea. We liked the spot, but we had no idea it would be as accepted as it was. And that's the lesson, right? Is that if you make something you think is good and it reaches your target and you think it hits the audience, that's the best you can do. Whether it gets traction or not, who knows?
Do you happen to remember back in the .com boom? It was so big. People would be like, "Have a good day." .com.
It's like hashtag.
.com.
No, it's hashtag. The hashtag John. Hashtag Tim.
There was some strange. I think the company's still around. There was a company. Oh no, maybe they're not actually. Come to think of it, where their whole ad was a monkey that was dancing in a driveway. The dancing monkey ad. Do you remember this?
Oh, wasn't that?
Do you happen?
Wasn't GoDaddy? Was it?
For a long time, GoDaddy had the girls. It looked like a Victoria's Secret ad for GoDaddy, but
GoDaddy.
I forget what
the monkey ad.
The dancing monkey.
Squarespace or Square Peg or see, we don't even remember.
Well, there you go.
E-Trade.
Oh, wow, Garrett! Thank you for doing that.
So easy, the monkey can do it, right? I think.
That was the
E-Trade. Are they around anymore? E-Trade?
Yeah, E-Trade's around. Yeah, unless they were bought by.
I don't think I've ever heard of them.
E-Trade?
Anymore.
Well, I don't think they've ever done Super Bowl again. But
no, but I mean, even as a company, does somebody buy them up?
I seem to. Hey, look, I want to say yes, they're around, or they were absorbed by someone, but that was the salad.
They're still around.
They are. Does it say if they're owned by anybody?
No, they're just E-Trade. They're
just E-Trade.
But those are the salad days. That's when people were spending $1 million on a dancing monkey in a driveway.
Yes.
Hey, but I guess we just talked about it, so.
There was also pets.com with the sock puppet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And like 3 months later, they were out of business.
Yeah. Because they realize that in New York, when somebody buys 200 pounds of dog food and you got to carry it up 4 flights, probably going to lose a little money.
But the sock puppet is another great, thank you, Garrett. That's another great example of one of those things that, wow, and then poof, no more.
And there were guys that went to my little college, Marietta College. Doritos used to create the Super Bowl ad.
Yeah, I thought they still did.
These guys are the ones who did the snow globe through the glass.
I love that.
They threw it through the glass. It cost them, I think, $6,000 to make the commercial or less. And it was a huge. Remember what a huge? Well, this is probably 10 years ago, but it was. I can get the Doritos, and then he throws it through the vending machine and busts the glass. But I like those sort of things.
Yeah,
if
I
you
do
could
too.
do them.
I do.
We were going to try to make an ad, weren't we? Once the Doritos thing, but
There was actually a year that there was Doritos, and there was another brand that had a make
Nabisco
your
or
own. It
something?
might have been, I think it wasn't. It was a snack food, but I don't remember who it was. Now we were like, hey, let's make an ad.
yeah, we didn't.
Yeah, so there you go, Super Bowl. And here's the thing that to me says it all. In our culture of constant feed the machine of outrage and what's the next thing, it's already in the rearview mirror. It's Wednesday, and that feels like it happened.
Yeah. Well, all the nonsense that's happened since we've had the mess in Iowa. Let's all give Mayor Pete, which I don't know if they've even. I think we still don't know. There's the ballot still.
Bernie
aren't
and
all in
Pete,
yet.
though, are.
But Bernie and Pete, but Mayor Pete, which everybody thought would not have any traction. I had a little argument with somebody. They'd said that Mayor Pete and Bernie weren't diverse enough. And I said, an elderly non-Christian and a married gay guy is not diverse?
Elderly,
Elderly Jew.
an ad socialist,
So
supposedly.
that's not diverse?
Allegedly. Yeah, and a gay man.
Well, I was not going to vote for a diverse candidate. They voted for a woman last time. They voted for Barack Obama last time. So all this stuff about blaming Iowa.
I hope America surprises me, but on your diversity point, I saw a number of people the other day who talked about how happy they were that Mayor Pete was in the top three. And then literally, and this is literally in the next sentence, but that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And so it was this
Which they
interest.
said about Obama.
Exactly. It was this whole disconnect of, hey, I'm so glad he's here, but we know how everybody. No, we don't know. And he might actually cut through. Every time I hear Mayor Pete talk,
He's the smartest of the gang.
I thought, oh, he can actually have a conversation and try to find consensus. Here's here's what you think. Here's what I think. Hey, how about we think about this thing here in the middle? That's the way it's supposed to go, right?
And the other thing I don't understand is they want to move the primary to what they feel is a more representative state.
Which
Iowa and New Hampshire have always been white. This didn't change. This just didn't happen. These have always
so
been
what
white
state
states.
were they thinking of?
But the issue I find is a lot of the diverse candidates that did not nationally fundraise enough money, whether it was Michigan who was first, or California or Florida.
It's down to money.
It was down to who had the money, right? Yeah. So it wasn't a diverse issue more than it was a money issue. And they need to get off of, it's not diverse enough, so if we do it in Michigan or Florida, we're going to have a much different slate of people. Not the case.
Correct.
It comes down to the dollars. And that's the argument that I keep having with people. It's like it's whoever has the most money, sadly, or raises the most money. Biden's out of coin.
And which now you led into something fascinating to me. A friend of mine the other day said, I'm putting my money on Mike Bloomberg. And I said, why? And he said, he can outspend everybody. He has the staying power. It doesn't matter what happens in some of these early states because he doesn't have to really fundraise. He just goes and writes himself a check.
He's also not afraid to go after Trump, which I think
Not at all.
is helpful. Did you see the ad he did? Was it Sunday? He said something about Trump called him Mini Mike, needs to stand on a box. And Bloomberg said, that's fine that the spray-tanned, orange-haired, obese Trump. And then he had all these pictures of him in his ad of doing a golf club, and he's Trump, the most horrible pictures.
Unflattering is the word I would use.
Unflattering. But that's what, some people say, this is who you're dealing with. You're dealing with a reality star.
Who knows how to,
Who knows how to work the media. And Brian Williams said yesterday, the smartest thing I've heard anybody say. He was talking to James Carville. He said, the Democrats have to understand you cannot run a Whole Foods campaign to a Campbell Soup nation.
Nicely said. I wonder if he had sometimes I think with commentators, do you think they kind of think of this in advance?
Well, he's always said that. So, he always is.
He's always got that
He's
quip.
always got the quip.
Okay.
But he said that they were talking with Carville, and they said you need to talk about what's important to Main Street America. You can't do a Whole Foods campaign to a Campbell Soup nation. And they said that's
Perfect.
the fear.
Perfectly said.
Yeah, that's the fear of a lot of what's.
'Cause let's be real, and you and I can take our experience in LGBT marketing. yeah, and, there's a numbers thrown around about how wealthy the LGBT
Billions and
consumer
billions
is.
and billions of dollars.
They don't have kids. They have lots of disposable income. But the truth is, when you used to dig into the numbers,
Guess where they shop?
they shopped at Costco, Home
Walmart,
Depot, Walmart,
Target,
yeah.
just like everybody else.
They're looking to save a buck. Yeah. So, yeah,
Not all that Gucci and Hermes.
Gucci, indeed. Hey, I want to introduce you guys to a new partner of ours, and I really think it's a great match for us. It's Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com. You're a small business owner. Maybe you work for a major company, but you're handed a project and you need to find talent to fix to get it done for you. It's a logo, it's copywriting, it's web design, it's web coding, it's video editing, it's video production, it could be motion graphics. And the biggest thing is, where do you turn? And I get this question a lot from people. Hey, do you know someone who does fill in the blank?
Well,
Well,
copywriter, do you know? Right.
I'm happy to now direct people to Fiverr.com. As I said, Fiverr.com. They have a great marketplace of freelancers that are there to engage with you. Lots of different price points. You can have a logo done for $25. You could have a logo done for $300. My personal idea is to spend a little more money, as Tim said, or use a less expensive contractor or freelancer to explore ideas.
Depending upon your project, right? And that's the great thing. And the other great thing is you can search by services, John mentioned, but also deadline or price.
That's a new
or
one on me, by
reviews.
the way. Could you? So you could actually say, I need
By
this
deadline.
done
So
by Friday.
I need a logo by X, and then that would serve up
Narrow down.
freelancers that are able to
Do it.
that have said we can do this in 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever. And I think that's a great option as well. The other thing I think is good about Fiverr is up front what you're going to pay, so there's no negotiating back and forth. You get the project, as John says, do a creative brief, get it to the freelancer, and the price is there, and then you start.
That creative brief is a little tip you get here from Tim and John.
Yeah.
My big recommendation when you work with anybody, whether it's in your normal day job or you're working with a contractor or freelancer at Fiverr, pull some swipe art, we call it. If you're having a logo done, pull a couple of logos that you like. That's not indicative of what you want, but it's going to indicate your taste. Send that to them along with a 2 or 3 sentence thing of, here's what I think my company is, here's what it represents, here's what I'd like to do. Now, if you're going to use Fiverr, Fiverr.com, and it's your first order, use the code FOCUS, FOCUS, and you're going to get 10% off that first order for being a listener of the Focus Group. So we are now, since we've begun working with Fiverr, we're now getting our corporate logo. Me and Tim own a company called Triberry Productions. And I put a creative brief together. And for me, it was simply the last 2 logos plus our current one and a 4-sentence paragraph about what I thought when we designed our first logo and what we now think of ourselves today. And I located 3 graphic designers or logo designers on Fiverr.com. And they ranged from $25 to $150 to, I think, $175. So if all 3 of them get the same brief,
I'd be curious to see what we get back.
I'm going to get back a pretty cool range of stuff. And I could move forward and develop the logo further with one of them, or just look at that pool and say, Tim, what do you think? Maybe we need to try this or something else.
So be sure to go to Fiverr, Fiverr.com. And it's a great place to start if you're looking for freelancers to that business project that you have. And use the code FOCUS to get 10% off your first job. So thank you, Fiverr.
And now, in a bit of a format change, because the Super Bowl caught our eye, it's time for Business Birthday.
Everyone
birthday.
does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
I've always wondered about this brand, Ruth Ann Udsted Fertile, but we'll call her Ruth Fertile. She was born February 5th, 1927. She died April 16th, 2002 at 75. A Louisiana businesswoman, best known as the founder of Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
No way.
Look at her there with a cigar and a scotch. Did you ever go to
God
Ruth's
bless her.
Chris?
And it looks
Ruth's
like
Chris is great because it's all butter right on top.
it looks like an 80s picture. Look at the shoulders on the jacket she's
Yeah, that
wearing.
is very
big
down.
old
Dynasty.
Sigourney Weaver, working girl kind of thing. So wait, Ruth Chris.
So Ruth Chris Steakhouse. So
Where did that
Ruth's-
come from?
tell ya.
Okay.
So she grew up. It says she grew up in a poor family in New Orleans, Louisiana, and she was very smart. And she skipped several grades of grammar school, and she graduated high school at the age of 15. They took some of her brother's World War II GI Bill benefits to send her to Louisiana State. She graduated at 19 with honors in chemistry and physics. And she thought she was going to teach. She wanted to do a number of things. She ended up meeting a guy named Jerry in Baton Rouge, and he ran for mayor, and he used to wear... I'm sorry, his name was Rodney. He used to wear a gorilla suit as he was running for mayor of Baton Rouge. Kind of a sidebar to help save the zoo.
This is, by the way, did you read that and say Tim and John would have liked to have known him?
Yeah.
Because that sounds like a Mr. C thing.
Yeah, so I'll give it its due justice and read it instead of me trying to do synopsis. So she married Rodney Fertile. He lived in Baton Rouge. They had a love of horses. So she went and she earned a thoroughbred trainer's license for horsing.
Wow.
For horses. And she ended up becoming the first female horse trainer in Louisiana. And then Ruth and Rodney divorced. And he then unsuccessfully ran for mayor in 1969.
Was that with the gorilla suit?
The Gorilla Man.
Okay.
He would often wear a gorilla suit to campaign events. I love him.
You cannot make that up, right?
So after the divorce, she realized she couldn't support herself and her sons on the alimony payment she was getting. The husband wasn't working, obviously didn't win election. So she went and she decided to make drapes out of her house. And so she took in odd jobs to make drapes. That didn't work. She took a job as a lab tech. That didn't work. She realized she needed to make more money. So there was a failed restaurant for sale in town called Chris's Steakhouse. It was a 60-seat restaurant in New Orleans. And her banker, her lawyer, her friends, everybody told her not to do this. The restaurant had failed 6 times in this location.
Under different management.
Different people.
Right,
A guy named Chris Motkaluk ran it.
By the way, that's like a restaurant bad luck thing. If this has failed that many times, that location.
So she didn't listen to them. She mortgaged her house. She had to raise $18,000, an additional $4,000 to cover costs of renovations. She opened the steakhouse, Chris's Steakhouse, on May 24th, 1965. Her first night, she sold 35 steaks at $5 each. Within 6 months, she had doubled her annual salary. So they say she took a hand in everything. She learned how to be a butcher. She was only 5'2", 110 pounds. She'd saw up to 30-pound short loins by hand until she could afford an electric saw. She staffed her whole restaurant with single mothers. She said they were the most hardworking and reliable workers.
Oh, well, that is. Are you serious?
Yeah.
This is definitely one for the book.
She said for many years, Chris's Steakhouse was the only upscale restaurant in Louisiana with an all-female waitstaff.
That is cool.
So they began attracting celebrities and so forth. So as the restaurant grew, it caught on fire. There was a bad fire back in '76, so they needed to move the steakhouse. But there was some odd little clause in the lease agreement that she did when she bought it that she could not use the Chris Steakhouse name in any location other than where she was.
The physical
Location. So she put Ruth in front of it. So that's how it became Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. She said, I always hated the name, but I managed to work around it.
God. All right, so that explains. It's
an
always
odd name.
It's always been odd to me. Ruth's Chris. It's always been odd.
It says her sales agreement prevented her from using the original name at any other address, so she needed to come up with a new name. So she did that. A lot of people were fans. She ended up franchising. She had over 80 restaurant locations at its height. She continued to run Ruth's Chris for most of her life. In 1997, when she turned 70, she personally visited 42 of the restaurants. She goes, I would always go smell out how they were doing. So she could tell whether things were going well by the smell inside, whether it didn't burn or whatever. She fell ill in Illinois. She was a smoker for 50 years. She was diagnosed with lung cancer in 2000. She died 2002 at 75. Here's an odd thing. So she was buried in a lavish mausoleum that she and her friend, Lana Duke, had commissioned in 1995. Lana had an ad agency and did a lot of the advertising. She and Lana were buddies.
Oh, you're sniffing out
I don't know what it means other than they have this mausoleum together. A granite building cost $500,000 on a 27-square-foot plot. And the Duke family's on one side, the Fertile family's on the other. There's an etching with 2 angels that says it's a wonderful world. The Fertile Duke mausoleum can hold 6. And it was designed by the art department at Duke's advertising agency. They held a big party for 150 guests upon the completion of the structure, and they had the priest bless the crowd with beer, sprinkled beer.
So Ruth,
She was a huge, and she did lots of charity.
okay, Ruth,
Well loved within the community.
Ruth never remarried.
No, she never remarried.
So this connection to the woman,
I'm just
I'm
look, speculating.
why not, right? It's not a bad speculation. I hope it's not insulting or bad, but
Yeah, they talked about one time they were, during one of the hurricanes in New Orleans, they were left without power. So rather than letting the food spoil, she cooked it all up and gave it to all the workers outside. But she'd done millions of dollars over the years to philanthropic stuff. But I thought, what a strong lady. I always love those sort of stuff.
And here's something that I love about what you pinpointed. It's the small things that can change a life. So she staffs the restaurant with single mothers because of how hardworking they are. Now, let's just take any one of those she could have made an impact on any one of those people's lives for the positive.
Yeah.
If someone has a job, she can take care of her kids. I mean, that's a really cool awareness of your environment, and I think
her knowing what she went through.
Exactly, as a woman.
Paying it back, right, as a woman and struggling and nobody believing her.
Good business birthday, and now we know.
Now you know why it's
Ruth's Chris.
Steakhouse. I love Ruth's Chris. There was one in Philly we used to go to, and I'd always say, "What's the secret?" And the guy'd say, "We soak it in butter."
Butter.
Thank you, Ruth.
God bless. Hey, as many of you know, Deep Discount is a partner of ours here on the Focus Group, and we encourage you to visit Deep Discount by going to our site, focusgroupradio.com, and clicking on the Deep Discount logo, which is, yes, the shark. Arr, Sharky the shark, who always gets the pirate treatment. Unknown why. It's a verbal tick. Can't seem to fix it. I don't think I want to. So, arr for the shark. Own your passion at Deep Discount, and we love it because shows and movies, things you can't, records, books, toys, things you can't on the DVD and TV side, things you can't normally see on streaming services or on broadcast TV. They have it. And this week is an award-winning films sale. Now, that was a big category, by the way. And award-winning, you could win an award for cinematography, you could win an award for costume design, you could win a lot of awards. What did you end up picking?
Well, what I ended up picking is a little bit of a backstory. When I was a headhunter, and my friend Kate, who you know, we were in our early 20s, just out of college, and we concocted this scheme that we were going to go down to Wilmington, Delaware, to go visit with banks. And I had this old...
Banks, as in banking
institutions? We're going to go talk to HR people in the banks, brick and mortar. We're going to go down, and we're going to pick up all these jobs for banking, and we're going to fill these jobs because we were headhunters.
Brilliant. Okay.
So our boss, this guy named Tom Glenn, Harvard guy, he's sitting there in his half glasses, and he's got his...
Were they the ones that came down?
Corner office. He's at Golf Magazine. I think he might have even been clipping his nails. He's flipping through the Golf Magazine. And it was a Thursday afternoon. I went in there and I said, Tom, I said, can I talk to you? I said, Kate and I aren't going to be in tomorrow. I said, we're going to go down to Wilmington, Delaware, and we're going to go prospect for new clients.
Prospecting.
And he's, click, flipping. So he's listening to me, and I'm thinking, it's a little too easy. He goes, okay, so we'll see you all Monday. I said, yeah. And he goes, oh, by the way, and I turn around, I go to leave. He goes, oh, by the way. He said, have a good time prospecting in Delaware, and my name's not Judy. I didn't star in a movie. And I was like, what? He goes, my name's not Judy. Are you too young for this reference? So I said, what do you mean? He goes, Judy Holliday. She starred in a movie Born Yesterday. See you Monday.
Oh my.
So,
are you too young for this reference?
Because he's like, oh, my name's not Judy. I didn't star in a movie. I was like, he goes, Judy Holliday? She was in a movie. He goes, my name's not Judy. I didn't star in a movie. Movie was Born Yesterday. See you Monday.
Oh.
He knew we totally had this concocted story. We were going to go down, but we just wanted a day off. See you Monday. So I'm going through.
I don't even know how you could have turned around and walked, because he totally got you, right?
Not even really paying attention. I thought he's going through his Golf Magazine. By the way, I'm not Judy. I didn't star in a movie. I've used that forever, that line.
And so you picked the movie?
I'm flipping through Deep Discount. I see Born Yesterday, Judy Holliday with William Holden. For $11.63. I have to get it. She won.
You better get it.
Judy Holliday. I never saw it. She won Best Actress in 1950 for it. She got the Oscar. It was a priceless performance as a junk tycoon's not so dumb blonde mistress in this biting comedy. 1950s. I got to get it.
So she plays the mistress of William Holden.
Yeah. Well, there's Broderick Crawford.
Oh, it could be
Robert
okay. It
St.
could be
John
someone
Francato.
else. All right.
I never saw the movie, and when I saw it, I
am
just
sorry,
laughed.
but you better order this. You better,
I have
and I need to borrow it because based on that story alone, oh my God, that's hysterical.
Yeah. It's
I
a
don't
long
ha-
way of how I picked.
Oh, it's a great way. I'm going to be quick with my. I don't have such a funny story with my pick. I was scanning through and I saw a movie that I had meant to see. I believe it's Daniel Day-Lewis's last film. It's called The Phantom Thread. Got a lot of great critical review. People loved it, but I just didn't see it in the theaters, and I held off on this until I saw a friend of mine the other day who he gave me an article about movies that are not what you think they are, and The Phantom Thread was one of them. And the critic said this is a sly movie. A lot's going on in The Phantom Thread. It's sly. So I'm just dying to know what he meant by it. I know it's great performances, but now I want to know what he meant.
When did
by
it come out? Does it say?
Oh, this just came out like 2 years ago.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, a year or two ago.
So it just says released 2018.
2018, yeah. Wow. So he said, hey, take this list. You got to get some of these films. So I picked Phantom Thread, which was Daniel Day-Lewis's, I believe, last movie.
And so the release this week was what? Parasite? What was
Parasite.
That?
So everybody's been buzzing about Parasite, South Korean movie.
Did you see it?
No, and I'm dying to. And my friend Steve, who is now in LA for the week because he's going to go to the Oscars or some Oscar party, mentioned this. He said, Nash, you got to see this. So basically, I'm going to read what the description says.
Is this the one that's got subtitles, though?
It's subtitled.
Yeah.
Because it's South Korea. Now, does that mean you're not
reading?
Gonna...
Tell me all about it.
You don't read your movies?
I hate reading movies. I think the only one I ever saw was that Menage a Trois or something. It's a French
La
movie.
Cage aux Folles?
At some art theater like 20 years ago. And
It was La Cage aux
oh my God,
Folles?
I'm ready to go.
Oh, no, you're talking about like, maybe it was a Menage.
I think it was called Menage or
Oh, God.
something. Anyway,
All right, so Bong Joon-ho brings his singular mastery home to Korea in this pitch-black modern fairy tale. Meet the Park family, the picture of aspirational wealth, and the Kim family, rich in street smarts but not much else. Be it chance or fate, these two houses are brought together and the Kims sense a golden opportunity. What happens is the Kim family, one by one, they begin working with the Park family. And it would be something like this. We need a nanny we have someone who can do that. But they don't let the Park family know that it's their aunt or their sister or their brother. And it goes all the way. So that's all that Steve told me. And he said, I've just given you the rough outline. He goes, but it careens from there. So I do want to see Parasite.
Is it a comedy? Dark comedy?
I do
Maybe
not.
a black comedy?
All right, so it says here, by turns darkly hilarious and heart-wrenching.
Uh-oh.
So I'm not sure I rank that as comedy.
Park
but-
and Kim's kind of like Smith and Jones in this country.
Exactly,
Korea, right?
exactly. Yeah.
So, hey, head over to Deep Discount. Get there by going to focusgroupradio.com. Click on the Deep Discount logo. We like to get credit when you do your shopping there. It's the award-winning film sale. I had picked Born yesterday. John had picked, what was the one you had picked? I've got something.
Phantom Thread.
Phantom Thread, and the new release is Parasite on Blu-ray. Right, Garrett?
Thanks, Deep Discount.
What?
For the future.
I'm not doing it next week.
Thank you, Garrett.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got some shop talk for you.
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
Try, really try.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
I never try anything. I just do it.
Welcome back to the Focus Group. John Nash with Tim Bennett. Focusgroupradio.com is the URL of our website. Everything you need to know about us is there. Links to all our media, video and audio. And by all means, check out Unbuttoned, which is our Tuesday podcast, about 20 minutes long, 3 topics, drops, as I said, on Tuesdays. And again, our show is also available, the one we're doing right now, as video, and you could also get it as an audio podcast. So we have two quick shop talks for you today. The first one is a little wonky, but it's...
I'm glad you said that because I'm going to tell you something right now.
Well,
I think you would have done a good job as being a book jacket writer. You sold this to me. You sold me this art, and I read this.
Are you talking about judging a book by its cover or
like,
writing
I've
that?
got this great story about blah, 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 blah,
Plastics.
blah. And then I read it, I'm like, oh, my.
Okay. I'm
You
going to...
read this for fun?
I read it, and then I got into the weeds, and I'm like, wait a minute. So here's how it was sold to us. Headlines...
No, you sold it to me.
I sold it to
Who
you.
sold it to you?
The headline. The headline
I know
sold
it
us.
sold you one thing, one word in there. It's the
You-
middle word.
No, the second company, IKEA,
Yeah.
Lego, and
That's
Coca-Cola are all discovering how hard it is to replace plastic. And of course, the picture I pick, if you're not watching on the video, there's row upon row of mini little Lego characters, and they're all little stormtroopers, exemplifying what we're talking
I thought
about
they
here.
were marshmallows. Stormtroopers?
Tim is so not a Star Wars fan, right? Like, I could recognize these things
Cake
in
toppers.
seconds flat. Little stormtroopers.
They're stormtroopers?
So about a year or two ago, or for a while, we've been hearing about the concept of something called a bioplastic. And that's a plastic that would degrade naturally in a landfill. And when we say naturally, we mean something along the order of a couple of years and not centuries, if ever. Like most plastics may never break down. And if they do, they're going to be the little beads in the oceans that are polluting things. The net result of this whole article is that bioplastics it's going to require like a moonshot kind of thing.
Because they don't exist, really.
No, because all the trade-offs don't work. If you make something that can do this, it can't do that.
It
So
has to be perfect conditions for it to
biodegrade, et cetera.
And they said, but what did they say? Bioplastics are really what anybody wants to call them.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to say it's the Wild West.
Wild West, they're unregulated, and no one can agree on what counts as a bioplastic.
So I get it, I guess. What I do find interesting, though, IKEA, which is a huge furniture manufacturer or lifestyle company, I guess, out of Sweden, and very popular in the U.S., particularly for people that are furnishing first apartments or dorm rooms or something. A lot of stuff's plastic. Lego, they're plastic.
The whole toy, yeah.
And then Coca-Cola,
Bottles.
they don't need to be plastic. I don't know why they don't go back to glass. I guess it's too heavy for shipping. That's why they went to plastic. But my thought on all of this is, and I'm sure there's huge reasons, and I'm not a chemist.
Just to pause on that Coca-Cola thing, doesn't glass become their problem? So when we were kids, I mean, actually, this is before us. It used to be the milk delivery, and you'd put the empty bottle, they would get sterilized and used again. So the vendors still had responsibility for the packaging, right? Yeah. Plastic, it's just out of our way, yeah.
And so, and with Coca-Cola, you can still buy, glass bottles, and I know in some states there's the bottle deposit, the 10 cents or 5 cents. So I wondered about that, but I think the issue, and I'm obviously not an engineer or chemist, what I never understood about plastic was they obviously heat up oil and it takes petroleum to make plastic, right?
Yep.
Why can't they throw all the plastic in some sort of furnace and melt it down for something else again and melt it into a liquid fuel?
It's a great question.
But I don't know. Obviously, there's a reason they can't do it because it ends up we have these fields and fields and acres of, I think, the size of Texas of plastic
Wasted
fields
plastic
in the ocean, which is disgusting. And I hate when I buy something and I throw away all this plastic packaging. So I just can't figure out why we haven't figured out a better method of recycling plastic.
Well, plastic is an essential part of our medical world. Like, I can't imagine a hospital or a doctor's office, disposable, safe, sterile. On the
use,
exactly. On the consumer side, though, you are right. One of my cousins is a petroleum engineer, and he explained one day that plastics come in all different shapes and sizes, and they're only differentiated by their molecular makeup, how the polymer chain is created, and that you can't, if you put a bunch of different plastic types together and try to do what you said, heat them up, you're going to get something that is a compound that actually can't be formed again into something else. So you can recycle all kinds of plastic bottles because he said it's some kind of material that they literally can pool the material out, and it's a very little amount of petroleum actually goes into these things because they can extrude them a whole bit. But apparently the recycling is something that's eluding them, which then you say to yourself, they literally push the can down the road.
Yeah.
And we've all been complicit in this. I mean, we go out by Ziploc bags. In fact, in the article, they said that IKEA succeeded in doing one plant-based plastic, and it's a freezer bag. Should seem Tim's like a little like, yeah, that's going to.
Well, no, they did two things. They don't give you a bag at IKEA,
Yeah,
so they got two things: a freezer bag, and you don't get a bag. I'm beginning to hate IKEA.
that reminds me.
IKEA?
That's so much like that show that I get trapped in, the Two Fats, the 900-pound sisters. And wait.
That thing is taking a little bit of a dark turn.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, it's so hard to watch. But
The big fat one, the heavier one. What is that on her head? Is that?
that is
something?
they call it adipose tissue, so it's fat.
Oh, it is fat. I didn't know if she had a.
There could be something going on, but it's her body just storing fat anywhere it can.
How many episodes have you watched?
3, and I don't know that we can watch.
Did you see the wedding?
No.
Oh, so that's.
Oh, that
number
must be the
4.
sister, right?
The younger sister.
Okay.
Lighter one.
Yeah. No, the last one we saw, she was at a doctor. She weighed in, and she had not lost anywhere near what she had to lose for the bariatric.
Oh, well, then you missed it. The wedding was before.
So that was the guy that was sitting next to the sister. Was that the husband?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Well, in this exchange of the IKEA plastic thing you did, the freezer bag for the no bag, in their world, it was their mom taught them that you could have a sugar-free diet soda and then have some sugar.
Yeah.
Because
Balanced out.
they nailed each other out. All right, moving on. Our second shop talk. Also, I don't know. This was more of an opinion piece to me, and it was a quick read. I think because of the headline and what I'm about to read, I kind of saw it. New Harvard research reveals a sad truth. Men are still more likely to get promoted when they schmooze, but women are not. And the science says schmoozing with your boss can help you get a raise or promotion as long as both of you are men. The article, and basically what this guy, what he wrote is his career would have been much better off had he schmoozed. He recognizes the inherent built-in, advantage that gives him as a male schmoozing with another male. The other thing in here that I thought was interesting was this idea that women, when they are bosses or managers, they don't do this.
Can't be schmoozed.
Is that do you find that to be true?
I've had a couple of female bosses in my day, and I believe they're far more professional than the men because they feel they have to be.
They have. Good point.
And whether that's right or wrong, I think it's wrong. But they didn't take to the schmoozing like men did, from either men or women.
Right.
So that's where the difference was. But I totally agree with this article because I remember, particularly again in my corporate experience, that there were so many other things that if you didn't do it, you knew you were getting docked on the time. Golf was a prime example.
It was on the tip of my tongue.
If you didn't play golf, or you weren't married and your spouse wasn't doing something with your boss's
wives,
spouse, or the wives would do something. I remember, you couldn't do this now. I'm sure some companies still do. There were 7 of us that were district managers. We were all men. We had a male boss. And one of the planned activities was after we went to the steakhouse, we had to go to the strip club.
So where does that leave a woman?
And there were women that, so fast forward, this was an office in the Midwest. They still planned it with the agency. They were all going to go to the strip club, and there were 2 women on the team, and one woman refused and complained to HR. The one woman's like, "I'll go. Give me the dollars." She went and played along. But they finally, somebody in HR said, you got to stop doing this. You can't put people in these positions. I was horrifying. For me, this woman kissed my crotch with the lipstick on my khakis. I couldn't even get the lipstick off the khakis. I didn't want to be there. They paid for some lap dance from some woman from me. Indianapolis.
So what's fascinating about that is moving inappropriate off the table and ignoring that for a second. I know you can't. But the assumption that everybody on a team is going to find that entertainment It would almost be like saying, we're going to go see the new Star Wars movie. And 4 people are like, I don't even know what Star Wars is. One's going to say, oh, yeah, I can't wait. Okay, then it's like being colorblind, or like, I don't even know what I want to say. It's just deaf, tone deaf. That's what I want to say.
It's like having to go to the corporate Christmas party or the holiday party.
Yeah, those are obligatory on some level.
Or I stopped going. Because again, if you were single, you couldn't bring somebody, but you could bring somebody if you were married, sort of thing. And I always just thought it was a little bit crazy. But even right when I left, and again, this was 15 years. Well, I guess 15 years ago now. Not that many. It was less than that. But one of the last times I went to Japan. After dinner, they all wanted to go to a
Karaoke?
hostess bar.
Oh, that's
Which is pathetic, which is where you go and these Japanese women, you have to buy a bottle of, Jim Beam or something, and
they serve you.
And they talk to you. And I had a employee that worked with me. He and I both did not want to go. One of the senior guys did not want to go. And he said, out of respect for my wife, he goes, I'm not that desperate that I'm going to go spend $90 to sit to have some woman come talk to me at a bar.
Given the time change and what you experienced over there, you probably just wanted to go to your hotel.
Yes. So this one guy, who's now one of the heads of the company, kept pushing. I still remember the employee who worked for me hauled off and hit the guy because he kept calling him a pussy and you're not part of the team. You don't want to be part of the team. Now, little did I know this guy resigned the following week because he had another job. But he
still got a punch in.
The next morning, the guy comes down like, oh, I don't know, I must have slept wrong on my arm. It's like, no, you got hit in the elevator for being an ass. But yeah, they used to push us to go do this sort of stuff, and it used to just drive me crazy and so inappropriate. But if you didn't do it, you knew that there was an unwritten schmooze.
And the interesting thing is, it's schmoozing has been a huge part of my career, right? I mean, in advertising and marketing, you want to be able to hang with the agency. And in our case, it's a gay agency, and the gay principal creative director is in front of you. But I still related to this because what do they say here? The difference in outcomes, meaning promotion for men or women, lies in the fact that men can more easily schmooze than women with higher ranking men. So does that go back to all like our playground kind of thing? Who's the toughest kid? Who has the most marbles? How can I get to play with? You know what I mean? Like,
you got to be a team player.
And reading, but a lot of what I got out of this article was that schmoozing, successfully schmoozing someone, meaning you have a fun conversation, you relate on a couple different points, requires a keen observation, right? And a sense of, and how do I
call the person a kiss ass, right? A brown noser.
Well, maybe not. So you don't want to ever be that obvious, right?
No, listen. There was a guy when I was out west. He found out what church our manager went to, and he and his family joined that church for that reason. It wasn't even the same denomination of religion he was. But he joined because he knew that's where.
Now, do you think that's clever?
I think it's so transparent and so brown nosed. I mean, when we all found out about it, we're just like, you got to be kidding me.
All right, so
we knew what he was doing. He was trying to get a leg up on the other 6 of us.
But you identified an interesting line in the sand, right? Like that line was so obvious to everybody else. Like, why would you go out of your way to join the guy's church?
Because he gets to see him on Sunday.
Sundays, right? And that is true, though.
No one else is there.
Mm-hmm. And wouldn't that be true of people in positions where they play golf with the boss? And no one else plays golf, so there's an unfair advantage. And in the article, they also talk about back when people used to smoke, and a lot less smoking.
Well, that was a funny one. I did.
Did you? I saw you made that. So that employees, the research found that when a male employee who smoked started working for a male manager who smoked, the two tended to spend time together, like taking smoking breaks.
Okay.
And the male employee was much more likely to be promoted than a non-smoker. That's because you know him, because you stood outside in all this weather in the smoking area, having your Benson and Hedges Light 100 or your Moore or your Parliament or your Vantage.
Marlboro, John.
Marlboro.
Camel Joe.
The Camel.
Yeah. So schmoozing works if you're a man.
Apparently, yeah. And it doesn't work if you're a woman, right?
Did you ever have anybody schmooze you when you had the big agency?
Oh, yeah.
Really? Did it work? Of course.
Well, Tim is not lying.
Walter schmoozed you.
Oh, Hernandez?
Yes,
I loved Walter.
I knew you did.
And well, but here's the thing. I remember when the agency, when it was all, when the first or second, when we were closing up, Tim had very sage advice. So I had a Rolodex that, was pretty hefty. I talked to a lot of people during the year, during the week and the day. And you just said to me, in about a week or two's time, that Rolodex is going to shrink down from this, like let's say it's, you're going to lose 3/4 of those people. It was actually, the attrition was even higher than that because you're no longer of utility.
Not behind the budget.
I'm not sitting behind the budget. Yeah. So
That happens.
all that schmoozing didn't do me a lot of good with some of those people, right?
Well, it did if you still had money to spend. Get another couple $1,000,000 again. You'll see the phone start ringing. Right? Tap, tap, tap.
I got to join a church, somebody I know, right?
We got to figure it all out. Hey, thanks for joining us today. We want to thank our newest sponsor, Fiverr, Fiverr.com. Be sure to go there and find yourself a freelance.
You could find a writer, probably.
find a
You could
writer.
find a lot of stuff there, yeah.
If you've got a project or you're looking for some help with a project and you're a small business or any size business for that matter, head over to Fiverr.com. Use the code FOCUS for 10% off your first job. Also, thanks to our friends at Deep Discount, with us yet another year. It's
Award-winning sale.
Award-winning sale. And you picked, what did you pick?
Phantom Thread.
Phantom Thread, and I picked Born Yesterday. In the
Great story. Rewind if you haven't heard it.
in the new release is Parasite. And thanks to Garrett and Steve, and is Robbie Bobby back there too? No. But thanks to the boys in the booth. Thank you, John. Remember, text and drive arrive alive. What are you laughing at now?
It's Drew back there, and he's just,
Drew, I can't. Got this thing in the way here.
yeah.
Tripod. Well, you can't see it. Anyway, I'm behind. What do they call that? The fourth wall.
You're breaking the fourth wall.
fourth wall.
Breaking it.
Don't text and drive arrive alive. Have a good week.
It's The Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
Who do you have to blow to get a drink around here?